Good, good evening and welcome to General Council for September 9th, 2025. Let's get started. Attendance roll, number one. Let's go ahead and start. Go ahead, Amos.
Scano Sofuego, Amos Key Jr.
Carrie Bunbury.
Ellen Miller.
D.L. Bomberry.
Dean Hill.
Greg Fraser.
Hazel Johnson.
Melba Thomas.
Cynthia Jameson. Go ahead. Online.
Audrey Paulus Bomberry, Counselor.
And also, Councillor Elena Van Avery is unable to attend tonight. And Councillor Leslie Green should be joining us shortly. Number two, identification of media. I don't see any. Let's go to number three. Moment of silence. Let's take a moment of silence to remember those we have recently lost. Let's take a moment. Thank you. Let's go to number four, adoption of the agenda. Any deletions or additions to the agenda? If not, can I have a mover? Moved by Melba, second by Helen. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried. Let's go to number five, adoption of general council minutes of August 26, 2025. Is there a mover? Moved by Cynthia, seconder. Second by Helen. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried. Let's go to number six, delegations and presentations. We have a delegation here, Karen Hill with Ogonidao. Come on up.
Scano. Scano Swagwego. We have a presentation, and I think our architects are online. So Ryan and Daryl, we have a presentation. Yeah, we have our commission members here as well. Karen Hill with the Ogo-Denidao Executive Director. We also have Elizabeth Dockstader, Mary Hill, and Mary Sandy. She was a Hill 50 years ago. And Kristen Smith. And Barb General, the Associate Director. So, Yahweh for welcoming us to the General Council tonight to do a presentation. Ryan, Daryl, did you want to begin?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the introduction, Riva. And thanks everyone for having us here tonight. My name is Ryan, architect at Touro Architect, and we'll be talking a little bit about the proposed project tonight. I'll pass it over to Daryl.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having us. My name is Daryl Fisher. I'm from Wikwemikong. I'm an architectural technologist with Touro Architect. And I'll let Kevin here have a little introduction as well.
Hi there, everyone. My name's Kevin Kramer. I'm working for Touro Architect as well, and I have a bit of an accounting background if there's any financial questions that come up through the presentation. Thank you.
So, yep.
So,
Go ahead.
okay. Karen, is Riva Bomberry going to be co-presenting with us?
Can you just have to push the button?
We had thought, Daryl, you would present, and just if you have any questions or you want us to expand on an area, we'll come in. It's just
Okay. That's great. Thank you. Okay. Um, Again, thank you for having us, everyone. This is the PowerPoint slide presentation for the capital needs assessment and feasibility study for Ogadenidao and their proposed new facility. Sorry, I don't have control over the PowerPoint. So this is just a preview of the facility that we have developed so far with all of the landscaping and parking requirements. So under Indigenous Services Canada, CHRT 41, capital funding, there's a background I think we should start with about what it is and what it is for and who can apply. In this case, this is for the Child and Family Services sector of work on First Nations communities. And it's very evident with Ogadenidao and the services that they provide that they are eligible for this type of service.
Next slide.
Next slide, please. And so just again, a really brief overview. This is from ISC. The funding is for First Nations Child and Family Services. It's an initiative from CHRT 41 and Ogadenidao being the primary agency in Six Nations territory qualifies for this.
Next slide.
So the scope of the feasibility study, it includes a pre-capital needs assessment, which we have done. All this work is completed. We've provided a functional program, a functional plan with all the building areas and floor plans. Pre-capital needs phase 1A, the current scope. Currently, it's for a culturally based child protection and family support services to Six Nations band members. The staffing requirements, currently there are 73, but as we know, that's going to, the staffing requirements are strained and the needs will continue to grow in the future. So we wanted to make sure that the building makes provision for that. Upon assessment of the current facility and future needs, we see a 54,490 square foot facility to be necessary for current services and for expansion services in the future. The extent to which the requested type of capital is currently available to Ogadenidao, as well as the current condition and state of the existing assets. Again, Ogadenidao is fully entitled, and right now they are at risk of losing current workspace due to leasing restrictions in their current facility. This is just a functional program, a preview of the functional program. The full functional program does exist in the full report in the PDF that was distributed just earlier today. And the functional program just outlines all of the space requirements existing and proposed. This is a functional plan. This just shows the illustrative sort of flow of the whole floor plan and how the different spaces interact with each other. And it shows that everyone is working in the right space and working seamlessly together. So there's two major options that are considered and required to be assessed by Indigenous Services Canada. And the first one obviously is renovating or expanding the facility or designing and constructing a new facility.
Cynthia?
So in this case, we've...
Just a second, Daryl.
Daryl,
we got a question?
Yes?
A question. Go ahead, Cynthia.
Yeah, I've got your presentation on here, but I can't, you said it shows the present square footage? I can't make out what that is, if it is.
It's 28,000 square feet. It's noted in a few areas throughout the report. I'm sorry, I can't tell the exact page number, but the existing square footage is 28,000 square feet. And that will be coming up in another slide. There's a slide forthcoming that shows the comparison between the two.
Okay, go ahead.
So we know in this case, Ogadenidao is currently in a leased facility. They do not own the building. They have restrictions for expanding or renovating the property. They're at their limitations right now, and they have a lease expiring in 2028. Ogdendow has also approached the building owner about purchasing the building, and that was a no-go. So they were not willing to sell. So we have the best option in either case of designing a new facility. And what this will do is provide a very meaningful space for the clients that come here for help. It provides a culturally appropriate and future-ready infrastructure. So for the technical and economic assessment, the three major points was the site servicing, opportunities for expansion in the future, and synergies with other outside health, social, and educational facilities. So right now, the site is designed with power, a drilled well for water. Yes?
Yep, go ahead, Audrey, then Tracy.
What do you mean by your last statement, synergies with?
Yeah, it just means that the facility that we're providing, that we've designed, it will have external use for other organizations, agencies. It'll be able to work in tandem. Like, it's not just a siloed standalone facility. There are spaces there that are for use for outside agencies, social work programs, schools. So they can come in, rent the large community room, and they can use that. So it's a value to the community as a whole. So it's not exclusive just to Ogadenidow. And that's one of the aspects that Indigenous Services Canada looks at as a benefit to the community.
Follow up, Chief, if I could.
Yep, go ahead.
So is there actual space there for any other programs to come and be housed in that building?
Not housed. Karen, would you like to speak to that?
There are, Audrey, several vacant offices within the plan. It's red, is it not? Yeah, there are several vacant offices within the plan. And also, as we move through the presentation, you'll see on either end of the building, there is opportunity to basically expand and have an addition. I do know that space is a premium for us right now in this community. So certainly there is opportunity for future development. And this is why I was so anxious to get us on the agenda. That might be something council looks at, whether we would be successful, but you know, basically being very aggressive and pursuing more space to accommodate other programs, because we do work very closely with a number of Six Nations programs, and I think it would be helpful if we were, you know, in the same space.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, well,
Yep.
No,
I have another question.
Audrey,
Oh, you're gonna answer Audrey's question?
I just wanted to clarify the question. When you said housed, will there be opportunity for people to be housed? Did you mean clients to go and live there? Did I understand that correctly?
no, programs,
Programs. Okay.
services to be housed
Services.
there.
Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah. When I hear the word housed, that's kind of
Band
what
rep,
comes into my mind.
social, that's
Yes, there are opportunities for expansion. Community rooms, offices, that sort of thing. But that would be up to the team at Ogadenidow to determine how much space would be made available.
Okay, go ahead, Tracy.
Hi, my name is Tracy Brandt. I'm the CEO. It's very nice to meet you ladies tonight. Thanks for coming. I had a question. I'm wondering what makes your building culturally relevant?
Oh, that's a good one. We, well, as you know, Turo is an Indigenous-owned office. We all have a very strong Indigenous background. I myself am Indigenous. I'm from Mukwamakong. I'm a band member. And so when we look at these buildings, we try to design for the people that are going to be there. And in this case, we know these are the children and families of Six Nations. So, for example, if you look at the current building, it's a very large steel looking warehouse, and you can see steel beams and the steel structure from the inside, and it looks very, I guess, a little bit institutional, maybe a little bit industrial. So in buildings like this, they're going to be much more welcoming to the families and the children that go in there. It won't be just sort of a very plain steel looking building. It'll actually have cultural value in it in terms of materials used. The methodology of how we design buildings, Ryan could probably, talk a little bit more about that. There's a long corridor that will have the main community room at the very front. The long corridor and the lunchroom at the back will be an architectural feature that has high wooden post and roof structures that you can see, and it'll look very warm and inviting. There's play areas in the back for the children to go and exercise their legs, do that sort of thing. There's a fireplace in the back, so you can have whatever you want there. You can have sunrise ceremonies, powwows. You can have feasts, that kind of thing. So all these things we look at and we try to incorporate into this design. So it's not just a steel building with bricks and flat roof and a box that you just go in. It'll look very inviting.
Tracy, and maybe I can answer that. The initial model we had mock-up, quite frankly, looked like a spaceship to me. And the committee was really concerned just at the ambition of it, but also we've been very clear with the architects that much like we've done at Weekend Building, that we want that capacity to be able to, in our culture they called it add rafters to incorporate and bring others in. And certainly, hopefully you'll come out and tour our Weekend Building, but you'll see what we've done in terms of not only accommodating our staff and I think creating more culturally appropriate services, but we are also in the process of kind of modifying and moving ourselves around to make room for other programs who've approached us. And that was my thought, that really we have to be more holistic and more collective in how we think about each other and we think about our future. So, I said to the architects, this isn't what we asked for. We wanted something very similar to Weekend so that we've got expansion opportunity. And that's where I suggested a more basic building might be the 2-row. And you'll see in the schematic that comes up, it's an aerial view of the building. It's actually quite beautiful. It will be constructed just from white concrete and will have the purple accents. So, certainly I think we have been very mindful with regards to culture and the need to incorporate and wrap around our community and our staff.
Okay, go ahead, Daryl.
Okay. The next slide, please. So in terms of site servicing, we have designed for power. We know there's existing power coming off the main road. A drilled well for water supply will be needed to provide water to the facility. A sewage system will be a septic field bed on the site, and Ogadenda will procure the internet and phone communication lines. So this is just a quick slide, just show the opportunities for expansion that will be pre-designed into the building. On the next slide, you'll see those little wings pop up right there. So those areas will have rough-ins, as they're called, which means just mechanical, electrical systems that are kind of there, but they're capped. And then if there's a time in the future where you want to expand on these, you'll already have an air duct there. You'll already have a large power line, just needs to be uncapped, and then it's right there and it's ready to go. So again, synergies with health, social, and education facilities. So anyone can come in here. If there's a seminar or something like that going on, you can go and rent the community room, or if there's a ceremony that wants to happen in either of the courtyards or the rear fireplace area, you can do that.
And I wanted to add, Tracy, as I said, you should tour Weekend. We've got several, I think, very well equipped meeting rooms, and we do make those available free of charge, Daryl, to our community organizations and schools, and several have taken us up on it because we do have beautiful boardrooms. We have really nice, larger collective space. So that would be the spirit in which we would approach this, because again, it's that view that we're all basically on the same path. We have the same mission.
Absolutely. And so this just highlights the community room at the very front. It's a very large space, 4,300 square feet. And so people can come in there if they want to have a seminar, course, and then they're very large landscaped areas inside the building courtyard area and the large area at the back that has a fireplace. So those areas are also open for external agencies that may want to come in. So project budget, I think this is the most interesting one everyone wants to know about. The budget will account for design professional fees. This is an all-in price. You get your site servicing development, the construction of the building, along with contingencies. It'll be outfitted with furniture, fittings, and equipment, and of course the cost for acquiring the land, which is a 33.06 acre lot. And so this is a Class C cost estimate. So this is actually better than a Class D, which is required under Indigenous Services Canada. It's up at $36.4 million. We have a question?
Go ahead, Audrey. Yep. And then
Where is the site that of the land that you're going to be purchasing?
It is on the corner of, oh my goodness.
Mohawk
Smith's
Road
Corner?
and Mohawk Road
First and
and
Mohawk?
First Line.
First and Mohawk, that's right. Okay.
And then who will
And-
own the land and who will own the building?
Six Nations will own the land.
Six Nations Council?
Karen, is there a better term to describe who the landowner will be?
It would be Six Nations elected council on behalf of our community, so.
Yeah, yeah, thank you.
Cynthia?
I have a similar question. Did I hear you correctly, Daryl? And you said the Class C estimate, I thought you said 36.4 for the lot. Did you mean the lot of all the things above or the lot?
I'm sorry. This is for everything. This is for the site, the building, the construction, the lot itself, buying the lot from the owner. This is an all-in price. This is everything.
How many, can I continue follow up?
Yep, go ahead.
How many acres?
It's 33.06 acres, and the estimation right now is about just under $1 million for the acquisition of the lot. I think it was 990,000 or something like that.
I'm really curious as to the specifics. It's my hood, so to speak. So when you say Mohawk Road and First Line,
Yeah.
it's gotta be, is it the old Smith property? Because the other one's like there's a big gully and everything there. The Smith property or on the other one there's a big gully, but further in that Glenn just bought not long.
There's no, I'm not really sure. I don't know what the details on who would be like the old owner, like the old Smith property. I'm not, I don't know the hood.
This is a public meeting, and certainly we haven't made an agreement with the owner, and I'm not sure the owner would appreciate us disclosing to the community negotiations. So we're not at liberty. Certainly, if we could go in camera, we could share the owner, but right now it probably is not a good idea to share specific information.
I agree.
Sorry, I'm just.
And again, the value that I mentioned is just an estimate. It's a contemplated price. Nothing has been agreed to.
Okay.
At this stage, we have strong estimates, but that's all they are. They're estimates, not quotes.
Okay. Go ahead. Continue.
Okay. This is interesting. Kevin, did you want to have a little? You want to jump in on the conversation on this one? I think you're on mute. There you go.
Hi, everyone. Yeah. So as we're coming in, we're thinking about how much this is going to cost, not just now, the cost of the building and the construction, but also how much it's going to cost to operate and maintain this facility going into the future. We're expecting a useful life of this building of no less than 50 years. We want this to really be an asset for the community for a long term. So we're trying to figure out how much that'll cost and compared to what it might cost to just rent and provide some other alternatives like the other, renting and expanding into the services we need rather than building for them ourselves. So I think what we've come up with now, based on some like high level information that was provided to us, was about $125,000 operating costs currently with the existing 28,000 square foot facility. That's not including rent. Just so that we can, pull that out of the cost as we extrapolate it with our own building when we wouldn't pay rent. But now if we expand that up into the 55,000 square foot facility, the new building that Daryl is speaking about now, we expect that to be about $245,000 a year each year going forward, which would be quite a bit less than renting would be, and a lot less risky, actually, I think is what I was trying to say. You know, it's more predictable and less subject to market volatility and political instability.
And I just wanted to add that actually the numbers are quite a bit more than that. But again, because we're in a public meeting, I don't want to disclose because of our current landlord. But it's significantly higher than the 125,874. When we got the final presentation, I felt it was too late to correct it, but I do have the actual costs here.
Okay. Audrey, did you have a
Okay.
question?
We can update that. Yep.
No, it's probably an in-camera question, so I'll forego it right now. Thank you.
Oh, go ahead, Amos.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask the board and Karen. I'm reading a lot about the young people who age out of the situations. I was just wondering, was there any consideration for like transitional housing for those young people? Because there's often they just age out. So I just wondered whether there was any consideration in the future for that, for transitional housing for those young people.
I think, Amos, that in fact, right now, even though, we're working within our existing budget, we are working with a realtor and we're actively working to support youth in obtaining apartments, residences. But again, I do think it's an area that we have to pursue more aggressively. And if you think about that opportunity for 33 acres, that was my thought about, buying the whole acre and look at some supported housing opportunity, not only for youth, but some of our more vulnerable caregivers.
Okay, go ahead, Daryl.
Okay, thank you. So we arrive at the final recommendation. We know this is a new building recommendation. It's pretty straightforward about what the constraints are, what the cost benefit ratios are. And like Kevin mentioned, it balances the risk for the long-term value, and it fully aligns with the objectives in the Canadian Human Rights Tribunal. Risk assessment, I think these are the key ones. Again, there's a little bit more, and they're a little bit more thorough when they're outlined in the report in the PDF that was sent out earlier. But in terms of project risk, we're talking about timeline. There's a low risk of this one. We're going to get the completion done before Q1, just to make sure that Ogadenido has a place to go to well before the lease expires in 2028. If there's a delay in funding approval, we can manage that. We want to get our application in as quick as possible and get the documents finalized in an expedited manner. If there's limited funding, we can always revisit the design of the building, and we can see where we can save some costs. It's already pretty tight, but there's always room for a little bit of value engineering. I think the worst possible scenario, which I really do not see happening, I think this is a very, very low risk, but having a denied claim from Indigenous Services Canada, we would just have to re-engage the whole team and just kind of reassess the project as a whole and provide a resubmission if we have to. But I think everything we have together with the consultants that we've worked with is pretty solid. And so this is just a clearer picture of the floor plan, showing all the different spaces. The blue spaces is the executive area. The service spaces are in pink. Maintenance areas in gray. The shared areas are in orange. There's a large community room at the very front with courtyards and fireplace areas for everyone to use.
I have a question. Go ahead, Cynthia.
Yeah, I must say I do like the layout, but please tell me, because this is an aerial view and everything looks flat. There's huge soaring ceilings with what I called is wasted space.
We said no
And are there any considerations like environmental, green, build green, go green in this structure?
We have accounted for using solar panels, and there will be a row of solar panels that extend from the very front of the building all the way to the back. So where the large community room is now, on the roof, that's where the solar panels would start, and they would run all the way to the back along that vertical corridor to the back of the building. So there will be solar energy part of this building.
Follow up?
Panels be sufficient to power, address the power needs of the building?
They're supplementary. So we are relying on the main power line coming from the road. We will have to put in a new post and have a line that runs into the site to the building. But these solar panels will be there to provide a more green design and supplement the power of the building.
Go ahead, Amos.
Just one other question. I just want to know whether, what's the direction of the building? Is it keeping with our traditions going from the sunrise to the sunset, east to west, the building?
Good question. Great question. Right now, it's a little bit on a 45-degree angle. So when you're looking at this, north is actually a little bit 45 degrees, I think, to the top left. There are site constraints that we have. They're different from the initial site that we had worked on, and that was one of the considerations. But right now, this whole building is at about a 45-degree angle. So the main door is not facing east or west. I think that's what I was trying to say.
Okay. Go ahead, Daryl.
Thank you, Daryl.
And this is just, yeah, no problem. Thank you. And I mean, thank you for asking that question. I really appreciate that question because, it is something that we had tried to consider at the very beginning on a different site. And I do understand the importance of having the building oriented in a certain way. And so here we have, I think it's a very beautiful looking building with some very key accents to it that speak to the indigenous population of Six Nations of the Grand River Territory. It's not just your cookie cutter steel box that you can, walk into when you're going to any kind of Canadian Tire or anything. It's actually meaningful. It looks nice and it's welcoming from a cultural standpoint. When you walk in, you'll know that you're in a safe place and you're on the Six Nations territory. And some aerial views. And I think there was a comment from someone about the ceiling. The ceilings are not too high. We don't have a lot of wasted space. A lot of the not square footage, I guess cubic footage of the space as a whole is pretty low. So we're not looking at big ceiling spaces that will waste a lot of heat energy going into the building. And the final requirement, well, not final, but one of the requirements is that it's endorsed by an architect, and this is Turo Architect, and it's been a pleasure working on this. Thank you. Are there any more questions?
Okay. Is there any more questions? As Daryl said. Audrey?
I have a question. Yeah, could you explain that more? What do you mean endorsed by an architect?
Oh, it's just, it's a design that we stand behind, the report we stand behind, all the content that we have worked on with our consultants, getting all the information together. We fully stand behind, believe to be, and stressed to be true and accurate. We have a wealth of consultants that have contributed to the report, structural engineers, mechanical engineers, electrical, cost consultants. We have legal surveys, geotechnical and environmental assessors on site. They're all very professional.
Hey, the other question I have is, how are you making the white concrete? What are you building this building out of? And who do you propose builds it?
Well, we don't have control over that at this point about who we're proposing to build it. I mean, at this stage, we just want to make sure we secure the funding to get something built. There's many contractors that would be invited to bid on this project, but that's not really up to us as designers. Like Turo Architect, we do not build these things, or we do not sole source any contractors to come in and build this. It's up to the contract process to present the the RFP for contractors to bid on, and then they will come in and they will hopefully provide us with the low bid, and we can get as much value for square footage dollars as we can.
And just
So
to
we-
let you know that we want to encourage a lot of our people to have work if this building is going to be successful.
Yeah.
that
so
will
just-
be that. Go ahead, Ryan. Yeah.
Sorry, Audrey, just to elaborate, yeah, that's one thing that's on our metrics when we're kind of recommending to the client which contractors to go with. Sometimes we just can't get the pool of Indigenous workers, but that is one of our metrics that we look at when evaluating all the contractors to see what their trade pool is. And if they do have it, it's actually value added points for with the developments. So, yeah, we definitely consider that.
Okay, thank you very much. And I have another question. It might be for Cynthia or for one of our, maybe for Tracy. The funding, where this comes from, CHRT, and it comes from the capital funding there. Are we also social putting in a funding application for the same funding pot for capital? I know you guys wouldn't know it, but someone may know it.
Go ahead, Dale.
Yeah, I know maybe Greg can answer, but I think social has already is in the process of making an application as well. So they are in the queue as well. And I know it's capital dollars in relation to the needs for communities in relation to children. So, and I think it's open for anybody to submit. So.
Go ahead, Greg.
It's too late. I just finished. It would be nice to have worked together with social and built a building for both programs. I hope that there's enough money for both applications. Yeah, well,
Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, that was just my question is what, how much collaboration has been going on with the band reps and with respect to this building and its use, as well as what percentage of the building do they have use of, or have they can be involved in actually even the preliminary project, as because so far we haven't heard what their input is on any of this.
We haven't had any collaboration with them, Greg. We weren't even aware they were submitting their own proposal. But as I think the architects alluded to, there is space, and certainly it wouldn't be exclusive to band reps. But if that was something that would be helpful to them, we would certainly accommodate. We did accommodate them in our off-reserve location for a time, and we would extend that same courtesy.
Follow up.
Yeah, so in effect, they will be operating separate from you.
Yes, they have been operating separate because there has to be arm's length relationship.
Go ahead, Dale.
Yeah, I think with social, I think their program I'm pretty sure it might be focused more on housing related for the youth. But just another question, maybe for Daryl or Ryan there. I know in our motion we have the number of 39, and I know when you just presented in your projects, I don't know if it's just a typing error. You got 36.4. So just to clarify, I guess what number are we going to be looking at as part of the recommendation?
It'll be the 36.4. I think 39 might have been a misunderstanding somewhere. I'm not. I don't recall that number being discussed. Yeah, I'm sorry. It is this number that we have. Oh, sorry, I don't have control over the PowerPoint, but the 36.4.
Thank you.
Okay, so for recommendation 6.1, whereas Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council holds the designation for child welfare to the Six Nations community, and whereas Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council is aware there is capital funding available to support construction of a building to accommodate Ogwani Dow's service. Therefore, be it resolved that Six Nations of the Grand River 59th elected, should be council, council supports capital project submission in the amount of $36,400,000. Moved by Dale, second by Amos. Yep, questions? Go ahead, comment.
Yeah, the community, we need this badly. right across the board. You know how we were all squirreling around trying to find an office, and so many people I understand, if they're not having an office, are working from home. I know that's not the case for OGD, but generally, if there's any capital out there, we better damn take advantage of it. That doesn't come along very often. It was way back when Earth was green, I think 1991. We put a proposal together for the ministry, did our own business plan. We didn't ask council for any money because we did our business plan and found out because we housed different social programs that we could get the rent. Anyways, the thing is, the money, these capital monies don't come along very often. It might be another 50 darn years or something by the time it's there again. What I also appreciate in the presentation is the O&M. I've always said it's relatively easy to get capital dollars, but the slippery slope is the O&M. And that O&M, it's that you currently pay, it will be double your projected O&M, but as you put, and it's very true, I know the rent is astronomical to me, not to put down any local person for making their money, but especially on the backs of a program like you have no equity, nothing to show for it. That's not wise at all. So that's why I second the motion. And our rent was just raised.
It's already been moved by Dale, second by Amos.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I said when I put my hand up in second, but
Yeah.
we won't fight over it, will we?
No, because you're gonna let me have it.
Yeah, I know.
Thanks, Audrey.
Deb, did you have something? If you can come to Cynthia's. Okay.
Hi, everyone. I'm just wanting to know, what is the plan to keep council and service providers engaged as this moves through? Because I think that's going to truly demonstrate the willingness to work together. Because as of right now, you mentioned there hasn't been any engagement. So I'd like to hear what that plan is to keep us abreast of this proposal and keep us involved in what's happening.
I think, we're willing and we're open to suggestions, recommendations. As Cynthia said, this is for our community. There's a high need in our community for our children. This is an opportunity for us to address some of the concerns, some of the office space, etc. We're open to any recommendations. We're open to collaboration. We would never shut our door on that. I think we're all working from the same perspective in terms of making a better community for our children and taking into consideration all of the issues that are going on currently in our community. I think this is a proactive approach for us to address some of those needs. I think they're just going to get bigger and we need to be prepared. Now,
Go ahead, Dale.
And just further, as part of, I think Dean and I are reps on Ogwinidaw, we'll keep council updated in relation to the capital component of it anyway, so we will do that.
So it's been moved in second.
Question?
You got a question too,
Audrey?
Go ahead, Audrey, then Melba.
Yeah, just to let you know that a few of us counselors have been working on health for the last 9 years, some of them longer, but this was a need that we identified for many, many years now, and how to get a building, how to work together, and how to work in the best interest of our community. So I support this, and it's long needed, and I appreciate all the work that's being done. Yeah.
Go ahead, Melba.
What kind of progress has been made with relationship building with social and the band reps? Because there was a statement when asked about collaboration, and the answer, which Karen, I think, was talking at the time, said no collaboration with band reps, but you're certainly willing to accommodate them. So how is that happening? Because as Audrey said, it's been 9 years and we've been hearing these difficult situations between prevention and protection. How is that happening and how is it moving along? Because it's nice to have a new building, but if we don't get along, it's like in here in council. If we don't get along, we're not going to move on decisions and of course with yourselves servicing people in a proper way to the best of your ability and the potential of the families who wish to do some healing in regards to some of the problems that they experience. Thanks.
Melba, I just mentioned that we are willing to collaborate. We have to open those communication lines up. We are all in this together. We're not any different than any service provider in the community. We're working for the children, and as such, we need to open up those lines of communications. And I, as chairperson, I can be a part of that as well.
Okay, I wish you well in moving forward with the new building and continue to provide good service for our people. Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Hazel.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that there's a positive response to working well together. And we all know that what's happened to date hasn't been provided. It has not provided council with seeing that things are together. So could you give us a plan on how you can sort of kick off this, like the wellness, like our health is, the health named is changed to wellness now. And I think everybody is striving for that wellness because we all need it, as does all of our children. So could you provide some kind of a background or a plan on how you could kick that off, like a gala or something, where everybody's together, all striving for the same goal with a good feeling in your heart instead of, uh, well, we talk about colonization. Let's kick colonization out of here for once and for all. Thanks.
And again, we're open to collaboration and suggestions and recommendations. Um, you know, if we open up those lines of communication, that's where it starts. We can determine how we um, all have input into, you know, the future operations with all services in the community. I don't have a plan currently at this time.
But I have a plan and I've been trying to bring it to council. Hazel, we developed some months ago. I actually developed it a few years ago. It's a family recovery plan because I would agree with yourself and with Melba that we really do need to look at the trauma and the need for healing in our community. And we need to be responsive to, I think, the real critical needs in the community. So I would be happy to share that. And as I said, we have limited resources right now, but we have taken big chunks of that plan and we've moved them forward in terms of really expanding, I guess, the actual service and support that we offer to caregivers, to families, and to our youth. But I know we've got to go further, and we will go further because it's an active part of our work plan and our way forward.
I have Cynthia, the Tracy, then we'll vote.
Sorry, I forgot a question I had wrote down here. I think I wrote there, there's the community room is 4,310 square feet, and that would be available for other program services to use. So, and is that a rent? Will it be a rent fee?
Well, currently, as I said, we are.
Can you just turn your mic? Thank you.
Currently, we're just allowing other programs to use what space they would need. And, you know, certainly until we get into that building and we look at budgets, we can't guarantee it. But I think the spirit would be that it belongs to all of us. It's not Ogadeni Downs building. And we've taken that same approach with regards to accommodating other programs who requested space or even just meeting space.
And I realize you got to do your projection and everything, but if there is a fee, in keeping with community spirit, it should be as low as possible. Like We just have such trouble getting any place. I know I reported maybe from our wealth and economy lands resource meeting, the last report I made, is that we were informed there will be an update on the whole claim. I think it was October 6th, but they had to be at the Woodland Cultural Center just because there were no other space available. And often council itself, they want to hold a special meeting like it's an all day. And we're a lot of times scrounging around for space, or then the space we get is like just, the cost is sky high. That's all. But so we suffered like that. All of our departments and that is do as well.
Go ahead, Tracy, and then we'll vote.
I just had one question. You're currently operating under CYFSA, correct? How close or how much collaboration have you had working towards getting our own child welfare, our own child law that would be specific to SNGR?
Our governance documents preclude us from doing that, and I would think that we would, again, well, we could have input and contribute to that, because we've got quite a solid database. Really, we would be deemed to be in a conflict of interest position, and we could, assist in a working group, but it probably should be a more neutral program like justice, and there should be representation from all programs, because as I said, I do think we would be in a conflict position, because we think we're doing a great job, but probably not totally.
Follow up.
Okay, so I'm a little confused with conflict of interest part, because in terms of a community service, then I guess personally my expectation would be that would be working towards a community law, a community specific thing. So as a community service, providing service to children and families specifically for Six Nations, I'm finding it difficult to see how that doesn't work together, how that would not be one of the mandates that would be prevalent within your organization.
Well, as I said, to date, Tracy, Ogadeni Dow has not been tasked with that, but certainly if council decided that is something that we should do, certainly we would basically have to acquiesce. We take direction from council. But to date, council has been clear that, that we don't have, a role in crafting legislation. But again, I do think we could provide a lot of assistance and support to a project, or we could have our own project. It really would be up to council.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Anybody opposed? Carried. Waive second reading. Moved by Dale, second by Amos. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none. Carried. Yes. Thank
No.
you. Yep. Yeah.
Just before you guys leave, I know we made the resolution, and I think there's a long form to sign, but I thought there was also a letter of support that you had. Was
There is a letter of support within the package.
so maybe we should move on that, Chief. I think it's a letter of support for you to sign. I know that we made the resolution, the long form, and I think this is just following ICE or ISC's requirements in relation to what their needs are as part of the submission. Yeah, so I would move on authorizing the chief to sign that letter of support. Yeah.
Okay, so for myself to sign the letter, moved by Dale, second by Amos. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none. Carried. Waive second reading. Moved by Dale, second by Amos. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none. Carried. So we'll get that to you also. Okay? Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Take care.
Have a great night. Okay, council, let's go to 6.2. Abigail Hill, Wellbeing Liaison Officer. Okay, so you have two presentations? Which one would you like to start with?
Just push that gray button on your mic, and then when it turns red, you can, so people can hear.
Okay. This one?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome, and if you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm Abigail Hill. I'm the Wellbeing Liaison Officer with the Department of Wellbeing. I've been in the role for about a year now, and I've been in the Indigenous policy landscape for about 3 years. I've previously worked for the Ontario Federation of Indigenous Friendship Centers in their policy department. And yeah, I'm happy to be working back in my community of Six Nations. So I'll just get started. So this presentation is just for information. It was a request coming from the Wellbeing Committee, which I sit on with the Director of Health. So why does the provincial budget matter? It presents new funding opportunities for multiple sectors. It identifies provincial priorities. It outlines existing and new collaboration opportunities. It highlights funding gaps for First Nations communities. And it's an opportunity to strengthen our political advocacy for funding First Nations community priorities and for advocating equity and inclusion. And it's just a reminder that Indigenous health is a shared primary responsibility between the province, the federal government, and the community. And I'll just do an overview of some of the health specific commitments that are outlined within the provincial budget. They're investing $56 billion over the next 10 years in health infrastructure, including over $43 billion in capital grants. They're investing $280 million over 2 years to support the expansion of integrated community health service centers. $235 million in 2025-26 to establish and expand primary care teams across the province. They're looking to expand Ontario's primary care teaching clinics, which includes $60 million this year. They're looking to expand the Ontario Learn and Stay grant by investing $159.6 million over 3 years to support medical students. And there's a planned investment of $6.4 billion since 2019 to build 58,000 new and upgraded long-term care beds in the province by 2028. They're also investing in 28 new heart hubs, which is $550 million over 4 years, which is a new approach for mental health and addictions. On this next slide, we're just continuing. They're investing $303 million over the next 3 years for community-based mental health and addictions, $1.1 billion in additional hospital funding, which includes a 4% base increase and a one-time funding for the surgical system. Again, with the long-term care beds, they're trying to build 58,000 new and upgraded beds by 2028. And as of April 2025, there are 147 long-term care homes that are either open, under construction, or have approval to start construction. They're investing $56.8 million over the next 3 years for training and education, and investing in the Ontario Autism Program with $175 million this year, bringing a total to $779 million. And on this next slide, I just wanted to point out the Indigenous specific commitments that are made within the budget. So they're advancing the Winnebago Area Health Authority project, and it's expected to be complete by 2030. It is a state-of-the-art hospital and an elder care lodge in Moosonee. The Anishinaabe Aski Police Service Board is receiving $514 million investment. and we have 5 billion going towards the post-secondary education sector over the next 10 years, and that includes 2 billion in capital grants to help colleges, universities, and indigenous institutes. And then I have a new 3 billion Indigenous Opportunities Financing Program, which is supposed to support Indigenous participation in more sectors, including electricity, critical minerals, resource development, and related infrastructure, which will replace the existing 1 billion Aboriginal Loan Guarantee Program. On this next slide, it's continued. They are investing 70 million over 4 years in the Indigenous Participation Fund starting this year, and it is responsible for advancing sustainable mineral exploration and development with Indigenous communities. The province is also adding up to 100 new seniors active living centers across the province. They're also investing up to 5 billion in the Building Ontario Fund, which is supposed to support the province's infrastructure needs, including energy, affordable housing, long-term care, municipal and Indigenous community infrastructure. And they're investing 10 million over 3 years to create new scholarship opportunities for First Nations students. So from these investments, we can clearly see that the province is primarily focused on investments into a few health priorities, which is hospital-based healthcare, access to primary care, home and community care, mental health and addictions, heart hubs, staff training and education, and long-term care. So from here, from our analysis, we can I guess this is an opportunity to identify whether we have joint priorities with the province and how do we strategize as a community to sort of capture these funding opportunities and collaboration opportunities with the province. Some of the, I guess, shared identified health priorities. So the priorities with a star beside it are our shared priorities. So access to primary care and hiring physicians from our own community. We have children's health services on reserve, including Jordan's Principal, health infrastructure, long-term care based in our community, supporting health staff with equitable salaries, a diagnostic center build located in community, supporting and upholding the social determinants of health, valuing and implementing traditional health practices, community-based mental health and addictions, and supporting prevention-based services, wraparound care, and senior support services. And these are just some of the recommended policy positions that our department and council should be advocating to various government stakeholders. The first position you see here is that the emphasis on hospital and clinical-based care disproportionately disadvantages First Nations communities. I think we're all aware of the system-level barriers that our community members face, including racism and discrimination, chronic underfunding, a lack of cultural safety, and a lack of representation in mainstream health systems. And the province needs to acknowledge that First Nations communities are experts in helping our populations be well, and our health systems and traditional approaches need to be equitably invested in. And we're just continuing here with different policy positions. So many First Nations continue to get left behind due to systemic exclusion and chronic underfunding of on-reserve services, and that these barriers can only be addressed through meaningful and equitable engagement in health policy, program development, and strategy planning. And this includes relationship building with all levels of government and advancing Indigenous participation. It is well known amongst our community that our health systems and health staff are well positioned to deliver safe and equitable care across the lifespan, and that it effectively improves health outcomes while upholding Indigenous knowledge systems And without the support of our First Nations health systems on reserve, that the provincial health system would remain significantly strained. In relation to primary care, the primary care system at Six Nations is modeled after the NUCA model of care, which continues to deliver critical services that meet the needs of community members while reducing ER visits, hospitalizations, and wait times. And investments into our integrated health systems are significantly reducing the costs incurred to the provincial clinical healthcare system. And the success of this system, so practice grounded in relationship building, cultural humility, and holistic care, is making significant and measurable advancements to the way that wellness is achieved on Six Nations. Yet, despite our success in this model, the province of Ontario and the Primary Care Action Team, which is led by Dr. Jane Philpott, continues to not engage First Nations communities on the design and implementation of primary care investments. And the bottom note is that Six Nations of the Grand River was not eligible for the first round of primary care team expansion funding, which is very problematic when Indigenous communities are not given the same opportunity and funding opportunities to advance our own systems in addition to the provincial system. Specifically for health infrastructure, I think our community knows very well that we are in need of critical infrastructure that expands across multiple sectors. Specifically for health, the lack of adequate health infrastructure does not meet our current operational needs and is not conducive to population growth and service expansion. And this impacts our service delivery across our services in long-term care, home and community care, community health, and health administration. With the recent state of emergency, we have multiple buildings that have been impacted. And our health services are currently operating out of aging infrastructure, which prompts health and safety concerns for staff. So with all of this, it is recommended that Six Nations explore and exhaust all financing tools and opportunities with the province of Ontario to support building new health facilities, and this includes advocating for dedicated First Nations capital funding envelopes. Specifically for mental health and addictions, Ontario is taking on a new Heart Hub approach. And again, the Department of Wellbeing put in an application, and this application has been denied by the Ministry of Health. This is concerning as its approach remains unsatisfactory in meeting the complex needs of vulnerable populations such as First Nations people, and that we should remain critical of this approach and call on the province to publicly report on the investments and outcomes achieved within the mental health and addiction sector. The bottom note.
Oh, sorry, got a question.
Okay.
Go ahead, Helen.
So why was Six Nations turned down for that? Which one is it? I can't see. Why were they turned down?
I think Deborah might be able to answer this one, but from my knowledge, I don't believe we were given a rationale, and when I think they requested a follow-up from our end.
About the diagnostic center here, Abigail?
No.
Was it coming up?
This is.
Go ahead, Amos.
Sorry.
Yep.
You'll hear about, I don't know whether it's in this presentation or the next, but we were turned down with the diagnostic licensing, and we're totally pissed off. I had to tell the community, I apologize for using that word, but we were shut out of that process, and we're going to try and talk to you about that tonight as well. We need some real strong advocacy, Chief. And too bad we didn't have this before the Roma meeting, because this would have been your admonition. But anyway, We waited till tonight and we got it all here, and I'm so glad Abigail's presenting this to us tonight. And Deborah, thanks.
Go ahead, Deborah.
I just wanted to clarify, Abby's correct that for both the Heart Hub application and the diagnostic clinic, the results came back that we were denied and that we would not receive a reason why due to the volume of applications. So we are pursuing the Freedom of Information process and submitting the required applications to know why, because I feel we have a right to know that.
Go ahead, Amos.
And the kicker is one person in Toronto got 7 of those licenses from this government. So we got to knock on the door and say, why did that happen? Right? Why did one person get 7 of those diagnostic licenses and we never were even considered?
And how many
or any First Nation?
I was just going to say, how many First Nations? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Go ahead, Abigail.
And just to close out, that there was an Auditor General report done on Ontario's opioid strategy that was published in December 2024. And that'll be the next presentation that I'll do after this one. And it highlighted many issues with the Heart Hub approach, and it issued specific recommendations to the Ministry of Health. But overall, we found that this budget lacks dedicated First Nation specific funding that supports on-reserve integrated health systems. As critical providers and leaders of reconciliatory action within the health landscape, the province must acknowledge the roles that First Nations communities play. Indigenous inclusion in health policy funding and program development is critical for developing a responsive, anti-racist, and accessible healthcare system for all. As a priority population and vulnerable population, the province needs to invest in systems and approaches that are working to meet on the ground needs. Within the next slide, I wanted to highlight that the health sector expense for Ontario is projected to increase from 85.2 billion to 93.6 billion in 2027-2028. And one of the final slides here is that there are different supporting policy drivers that will help us advocate for increased funding to our health system. So the TRC calls to action, the UNDRIP articles, the National Inquiry into Missing Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls, the Provincial Indigenous Healing and Wellness Strategy, Your Health, a plan for connected and convenient care, and the Roadmap to Wellness, a plan to build Ontario's mental health system. And the final slide is the resources if you wanted to look at the provincial budget yourselves.
Okay, so the next one.
Okay, and then the next presentation I have is the Auditor General report on Ontario's opioid strategy. So the purpose,
Yep, go ahead. Cynthia, then Amos.
Abigail, do you know, I was looking for your presentation. Do we have it in our? Is it?
Yep. Go ahead, Amos.
I just want to know whether we could close off that, because I would like to suggest that we publish this on our website. This is great research. And we commend Abigail every time we have a well-being meeting because she's able to give us this ammunition. I don't know how we can strategize to communicate this to the community, but I think if we can think about that and maybe come back to tonight or soon about how do we engage our community to know that. We've done the demographics now. We know what's killing us in this community, what mortality rate. Women are living longer than men in this community. We have some great data on that as well. And what is affecting us or afflicting us? We have that data now. This goes with this now, with the research that Abigail and Deborah was able to put together. So I think we've got great ammunition now to defend our inherent human rights to health, right? Thank you.
Excellent. Go ahead. Did you bring that up?
So next we have the Auditor General report on Ontario's opioid strategy. So the purpose of the presentation is to give an overview of the 2024 report, and it reported significant gaps affecting First Nations communities, and the purpose of an Auditor General is to be independent from the province, and it oversees accountability and finances. The report was able to highlight Ontario's current state of opioids. It showed that opioid-related deaths and ER visits have increased 292% in the last decade. It has replaced consumption and treatment services with 19 new heart hubs and an investment of $378 million across the province. It found that the highest opioid death rates occurred in northern communities, and that the ministry's actions were insufficient for addressing Indigenous and rural needs. And it also found that the issues from 2016 remain unaddressed, so access to comprehensive care for opioid addiction, access to opioid therapy, access to care, and a lack of investment in research. The report also found systemic weaknesses within the mental health and addiction system. It showed that they're currently operating within a fragmented system with no clear accountability. This refers to multiple parties working in silos with no well-defined leadership or accountability structure. It found that only 10 of the 24 performance indicators were tracked, and that they had a weak outcome tracking and reporting system. So the official findings of the Auditor General for the Ministry of Health was that the Ministry of Health did not effectively implement the 2016 opioid strategy. It did not oversee and coordinate evidence-based services for people who require opioid-related services. It did not adequately monitor prescribing and dispensing practices. It did not measure and publicly report on the performance of publicly funded services, and it did not provide an evidence-based case for the introduction of heart hubs. So these findings allowed the Auditor General to issue recommendations to the Ministry of Health. On this slide, they're specifically referring to the strategy. So they're recommending that the Ministry of Health develop a holistic strategy with best practices to create a governance and accountability structure to define outcome-based performance measures and improve overall provincial data collection and evaluation. In relation to recommendations for service models, for heart hubs, they recommended that they plan carefully and engage stakeholders. This also refers to Indigenous communities, and to measure outcomes to ensure that this approach is effectively providing access to care across the province. For opioid agonist therapy, they want to expand access to the service. It is a medical treatment for opioid disorder and involves the administration of medications, which alleviates cravings and withdrawal symptoms. And this type of therapy is crucial for those who struggle with opioid use, often combined with counseling and support services. And this is they're recommending that they ensure all medication options are available. For rapid access addiction medicine clinics, they wanted to evaluate their performance, improve their access in community, and to standardize metrics for which they're monitoring and evaluating their services. Specifically for naloxone, they're recommending that they monitor claims closely and to reduce inappropriate billing. for prescriptions and monitoring. They recommend that they track prescribing and dispensing practices and promote reporting. Okay. And the last one is emerging practices. So evaluating other jurisdictions and models to see which approaches are working appropriately with the population.
Okay, Helen?
We have one of those RAM programs here that we have no control over. That's that one at McNaughton's Plaza up on Silver Springs Road. I don't know what that man's name is. Does anybody remember his name? Anyway, it says their RAM programs are supposed to be monitored. Who monitors him? Because as far as I can tell, nobody's monitoring him. He's just doing what he wants.
So it is Dr. Dillon that runs that clinic, and it's a methadone clinic. And you're correct. We have requested that there be oversight, and he has come to council, and you've made that request for statistics and whatnot. It's never been received.
Okay, go ahead.
And I was able to provide an analysis from a First Nations perspective. So this is an opportunity to advocate for increased Indigenous funding for addiction services, to enhance our Indigenous specific data collection and evaluation, to recognize traditional healing practices, strengthen our relationships with Ontario Health and the Ministry of Health. And with the closure of consumption and treatment services, the impacts on Indigenous communities is not clear or known at this time, and that these services have been able to prevent 21,979 overdoses from 2020 to 2024. And then the bottom is just noting that Six Nations Heart Hub application has been denied, and that this is an issue across the board, and there should be equal consideration for Indigenous communities in accessing provincial investments and initiatives.
Because our closest heart hub would be London, right? Mm-hmm.
Some of,
I believe it's in Simcoe.
Deb, there's one in Simcoe? I thought it was.
I don't know that Simcoe has a heart hub. They have a RAM clinic.
Sorry, that's on Ram Clinic, yes.
Yeah, I was talking about a heart hub. Go ahead, Cynthia, then Melba.
Again, forgive my ignorance. This isn't my area at all, but generally, there's always been this argument, a jurisdictional argument between the federal government and the provincial governments when it comes to services to First Nations communities. Like the province saying under the Constitution, you're responsible for Indians and their lands, and then under this same Constitution, they turn around and say, well, the provinces are responsible for healthcare. Does that enter in it? It just seems peculiar, as my pal across the way said, makes us spitting angry that we didn't get one in the example, somebody in Toronto got 7. Does that enter at all, do you think, or is that not related at all?
For the diagnostic clinic, that's totally separate, but I find that our programs have historically been caught in that gray area between the feds and the province, where they point to one another as you're responsible for First Nations on reserve. So it does create a lack of funding for us because we're basically waiting for somebody to offer the funding to us. We make the applications. Abby mentioned that we were turned down even on our primary care application because we didn't have the correct postal code that they were looking for. And yet the statistics show that it's a huge need in our community and all First Nations. Primary care, mental health and addiction services. We're highest on the list, but we are not getting funded for it when we're submitting these applications, and then to be told that we don't get a reason why.
Follow up?
Thank you. I was suspecting that, but I didn't know. Again, this is not my area at all. But this had been the case with the social services. Same darn thing without me repeating it. And the feds every year have these annual meetings with the province's leadership, and they have an agenda. Well, way back in 1965, Dean, on the agenda was this whole jurisdictional quagmire, and there's, as a result, no services on First Nation social services, period. So they entered this whole idea of cost share, which any province could take up, just Ontario did. For the longest time, there were only social services like daycares and you name it in Ontario, and the rest of the provinces would say, "What's with Ontario's got all this?" But I'm just wondering, just using that as an example, the structure, of course, could be totally different. Has there been an initiative, or do we at Six Nations press forward with initiative through, I don't know, the Chiefs of Ontario, the AFN? I think this is one where we wouldn't be as successful going it on our own as with the others, because the other First Nations would be suffering the same as we. But it, like, there is an answer, and it just seems like you say they just pointing fingers. No, it's you. No, it's you, which doesn't help anyone. I don't know if there's been any advancements or any thinking in that direction.
I think the advocacy is the biggest thing that we're asking for. Having said that, the province and the federal government, they have mandates as well that they have to stick by. So some of their funding is not available to us because of their mandates for it. However, like I said, we've gotten in positions where we didn't qualify for whatever reason. And, we've reached out with our needs, but it may not sit in the wheelhouse of the ministry, or it might not sit in the wheelhouse of ISK. So we're caught running back and forth between the two to try to make it fit for our community.
I had follow up.
Exactly, that's the issue. But I mean, we know what the issue is. It's a jurisdictional issue. But have there been any advancements, I don't know, through the committee to try to press that on through council, through Six Nations itself? We tend to have to speak for ourselves generally, but this one is more, would be a national offering. So a national offering, and maybe only the province might take it up if they could see eye to eye in it. But it's been done before, but not in a health. That was more my question.
I think for sure, because it's on a bigger scale, and at the Chiefs of Ontario, Iroquois Caucus, and even at the AFN for everybody. So I have Melba, then Amos.
Yeah, Amos has mentioned Toronto. I'm not aware of Toronto, but I'm pretty sure that Hamilton received 7 approvals. They actually had details of their program and how it's operated, who's the directors and who else is on staff and what buildings they use, and also the streets of the buildings. So I think it would be worthwhile to get a presentation here where not only we understand more, but the community understands more how we are left out in all this funding that can house our people for the opioid healing process in our cultural ways. So hopefully we can do that. Thank you.
Amos and Helen.
Yes, that's why we've been getting our ducks in order so that the council can now start advocating, especially the office of the chief. Um, we did have a couple of resolutions that we're looking at, that we need to organize a meeting with Jane Philpott, the lady responsible for primary care in Ontario right now, and also the minister, what's her name, Sylvia Jones, either together or separately, Chief. we need to have a delegation and go and talk to them and cite all of this evidence, right, that we're not getting response for. We have to know that in Ontario, there are 2,500 doctors needed right now. And there's like over 25 million people, 2.5 million people who do not have a doctor in Ontario. So we bring that back to the local level. We have 15,000 people on average on the reserve based on the work of Zach and his team. So then, and generally they want doctors to have a client list of 1,000 patients in their office, in their practice. So that means we should have 15 doctors here, right in this territory. And we have 2 maybe or 4, right? 5? Okay. So we need more doctors. And I'm glad they're going to invest in young people to become in that medical profession. It's what that Abigail cited. We need to encourage and invest young people to become doctors to service this community. So I'm glad we have this data now, and we can start promoting it internally at Six Nations that, hey, you guys, you got to come, you got to go to medical school to help our society, right? The other thing that has come to my attention too is that we don't have a walk-in clinic here, or an emergency care clinic, or an urgent care clinic here, or office. We don't have that. Yet other regions in the province have that. So we need to really remind Jane Philpott and her staff or Sylvia Jones, we're way behind, and get us back to 2025. So we need to frame these bullets for you, Chief, to go and knock on this door and let's go to Queen's Park and start hammering the door there. So I think we need to build a strategy with your team, Chief, your staff, and go forward. We have the ammunition now, and I think we just need to do it.
Oh,
So I just thank Deborah and Abigail and the staff there at Health for bringing this to us tonight. I know we had it last week in our meeting, and I'm so glad that we were able to get it on the agenda tonight. Thank you very much.
Go ahead, Deb.
I just wanted to make a correction about the population. I know Amos mentioned 15,000 on reserve. However, what we see is a lot of our community members that live off reserve coming back for service. So the population that we're actually serving is more in line with our total band membership, which is approaching 30,000 people. So the majority of them live close enough that they can return home, and that is what we're seeing. In addition to that, you asked about a walk-in clinic, and we are hiring more of our own Indigenous physicians. Again, the issue is space. We don't have the infrastructure to create what we want to create. And I'm going to go back to our Haudenosaunee Health partnership with Colleen Mentor and Michelle Jonathan, Dr. Amy Mentor. That application that they put in included the investors wanting to invest in putting up a facility to house our diagnostic clinic, which would not only include that, but would also include space for other items. So we talked about urgent care and walk-in clinic. We recognize the need is there. We just need the space to operate it. We're getting the people, our young people are getting educated. They're coming home. They want to work here, and we want to employ them. Space is our issue.
Helen?
No, I was just thinking this falls in line with what Hazel had put forward a couple meetings ago about setting up a delegation to go and start looking for money and funding and finding out why they're not giving us these things. So I really think we need to work on that to get that delegation together and go start banging on doors. Tables. We're not going to bang doors. We're going to bang on tables because we're getting in the door. And we need to start doing that. We're not doing that. We're not taking delegations to Ottawa to look for money. And Greg had mentioned this afternoon in our meeting that Ganawagi, their council is full-time. And they all have their own office, they have their own staff, and all they do is sit there, mainly sit there and look for money. That's what they do because they're sitting in the office all day. You have your meetings at night probably, but they just look for money. And that's what we need to start doing. We need to start doing that. Anyway.
Go ahead, Linda, then Hazel.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Abigail for your presentation and your data, because it certainly will support advocacy. And just a reminder to council, I mean, Chief's office was tasked, I believe, early spring to secure meetings with Dr. Philpott. We had secured it and it was delayed. And we did request a meeting with Minister Jones, but we were unsuccessful in getting a delegation at AMO. But now that we have actual hard data, and we have since requested a meeting with Minister Jones as well, we sent, the materials that we had prepared to present to her at AMO in Ottawa. So this will be just what we need, I guess, to seal data in terms of the next meetings. Just wanted to share. Thanks.
Hazel, and then we'll go back to the presentation.
Yeah, I just want to suggest that we have heard whereby with Colleen and Michelle and the people that want to put up a well-being state-of-the-art building here on Six Nations. And because we are in such dire straits with not having space to move forward with some of the things that the well-being wants to accomplish, why can't we make a decision to allow them to go ahead and put that building up? Because all we're going to have to do after the fact is pay rent till it's paid back, and then it's ours anyway. So to me, it's moving forward instead of staying stuck based on infrastructure and the lack of it. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Abigail.
So for the final recommendations for Six Nations and the Department of Wellbeing is that we use the Auditor General report findings to advocate for local needs. We should identify key priorities for the community and establish action plans with the Ministry of Health and Ontario Health. We advocate for substance use disorder indicators to enhance monitoring and public reporting, and to expand our local data to show the impact of utilizing traditional approaches for treating opioid use disorder. And then quickly, I gathered some data from the Data Analytics and Insights Department, and I wanted to highlight our current state of substance use on Six Nations. So, emergency department visits for overdoses specifically, out of 100,000 community emergency department visits, 633 of those were for overdoses, and this is in comparison to Ontario's rate of 10 overdose visits per 100,000. This shows that our emergency department visits for overdoses is significantly higher than the provincial average. For hospital admissions specifically, per 100,000 community hospital admissions, 23 of those were for overdoses, and this is in comparison to Ontario's rate of 1 overdose hospital admission per 100,000 visits. So this shows that overdoses in the community are substantially higher than the rate in Ontario, and that this suggests that overdose incidents are more severe or more frequent in Six Nations in comparison to the province. This next chart shows substance-related healthcare utilization by drug type. The purple line is for opioids, the blue line is cannabis, the yellow line is stimulants, and the black line is for multiple drug use. And this graph shows that there's significant rises in opioid and cannabis-related cases. For demographics, the data shows that the population most affected by opioid-related cases falls within the 25 to 44 age range, and this was evenly split between males and females. For substance-related healthcare visits in infants less than 12 months old, I just wanted to highlight the purple line, which is the drug dependence and drug addiction. So since 2009, there has been a consistent increase in the number of substance-related cases of infants diagnosed with drug dependence. For children and adolescents, 67% of events in children are due to cannabis poisoning, and that has occurred in the last 5 years. And then most substance-related events in adolescents were due to poisonings, so 66%, while the remaining were due to mental health and behavioral disorders due to substances. In young adults aged 18 to 24, 62% of substance-related visits in young adults were due to mental health and behavioral disorders. Of 87 visits, 39% were from opioids, 28% from multiple drugs, and 18% from cannabis. Adults aged 25 to 54, of 360 visits, 52% were due to substance-related mental health and behavioral disorders. Males were slightly more impacted than females, and the most common indications of mental health and behavioral disorders are related to opioids and multiple drug use. In seniors, 55 plus, 55% of substance-related visits in seniors were male, and 44% of substance-related visits in seniors were female. 62% of the substance-related visits in seniors were due to poisoning. So what does the data tell us? That substance use is prevalent in all population groups across the lifespan, and this means that access to treatment and different treatment options need to be accessible across the continuum, and it highlights the need for increasing cultural and traditional interventions and being able to demonstrate its ability to improve outcomes for First Nations people. And for the final closing, we recommend that Six Nations utilize the Auditor General report findings and our community's data to strengthen our advocacy with all government partners to build up our mental health and addictions response. And the final quote that I wanted to leave you guys with is that First Nations are leaders in building responsive and equitable health systems that meet community needs.
Thank you for that. Thank you for. Yeah, and you can, because it's sad, totally sad to see when you see it in numbers of what's going on. And not having got denied for a heart hub, got denied, that's just totally unacceptable. And I'm glad that you're asking why, because those numbers just show. And I think that's the other part that I've really stressed over, especially this term, is I'm tired of seeing people suffering in silence. Because I think that's the part there is what's happening, and it shouldn't happen. And by doing what we are going to do, advocate and the push from what Amos is saying and the data and stuff, we can break those things so people don't have to suffer in silence anymore. Go ahead, Dale.
I don't know, maybe if I missed it or not, but in relation to your numbers where you're saying the numbers were a lot higher, was that particularly focused on First Nations people per 100,000 across, is it Ontario, Canada, or is it just the general population?
So it's community data versus the provincial Ontario data.
Go ahead, Amos.
Yeah, I know we gotta have a strategy after we accept the reports and stuff, how we go our next steps. I really think all of our agencies should hear this presentation. So everybody needs to hear this because they're our frontline workers and they need to know why they're working with us to make our community better and safer. So I would hope that's maybe one of the next steps is that we present this to an all-staff meeting or see how they're investing, how we're investing as well. So I just want to make that a suggestion that we present that. The other thing is that, and I know some of you know that I've been appointed to be on the site management of the Brant Health System. They want to come and meet with us at our next meeting. I think we should share this with them so they know what we're up against and what they're going to be supporting us with. So Abigail, I hope you can be there for that meeting. They just sent me an email yesterday wanting to know when that meeting was going to be. And I know this is what happens to a lot of us when we step up to join external organizations. I was required to sign an NDA right away. So you have to be careful sometimes, but I will be working within NDA, but I'm going to make sure that we have all that data within the well-being because we need it. But they also need to know the status of our community. So that's why I'm hoping that they'll come to our next, I invited them to our first meeting of the site planning for the new hospital. So they want to come to the next meeting. So I think we can share this with them so that we can truly look at what we need.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. So just a couple things of what you said before I have Audrey, then Hazel. For sure, I think Tracy and Deb can work on for staff to have this presentation. Secondly, I think for sure Tracy can, for Darian to put this presentation, what you asked for the community, because it is open, so the community should be able to read the data for sure on that. And then just after Audrey and Hazel, and then I think there's just some changes I want to the resolution. Go ahead, Audrey.
Thank you, Chief. Just wanted to commend Deb and I forget Abigail for the research and all the work that you've done, you and your team. Amazing job. We saw this presentation before, but you always learn more the second time. But I would also like to recommend that we involve education in this, working with Travis Anderson and both of the traditional schools, as well as I think there has to be a forum for parents to have their voices heard too. We always talk about bringing the community along, but I think there may be people who want to voice their opinion or give us some insight into what we can be doing better and how we can do it better. But we have to hear from the community also. But good job, Nyawa.
Go ahead, Hazel.
Yeah, I just want to say that when Abby presented at our last Wellbeing Committee meeting, I felt so excited about what she delivered to us that day. We all complimented her many, many times. I think the work that's gone into this is tremendous, and I think it sort of tells everybody, gee, we learned stuff that we didn't even know before. What I want to do is, maybe I'm jumping the gun, but I'm going to put a resolution on the floor. When we talk about everything that's holding us back, it's getting the money from the government to help do what they're supposed to, but we don't have no place to put people. So with that idea in mind and the recommendation that has been put to us, that came in from Colleen and Michelle, the people that want to put up a state-of-the-art building, regardless if we got that permit for the, what do you call it? Diagnostic, yeah, the diagnostic portions. The room will be there. I swear to God, we're going to keep trying till we do get that license. I think we should proceed with that because we don't have money, very much money to put up a building, and somebody's offering to do it, and it's going to be big enough to accommodate so many areas of well-being. I think we need to move forward with that and let's grow, help us grow. So that's my recommendation.
Deb, did you want to comment on that?
Not specifically that. I just wanted to say Nyawa to Abby. She has been incredible in our department. I cannot take credit for these presentations. She did them all on her own. All she asks is, "Do you think I should do this?" And I tell her yes, and then she produces documents like this. She's embraced her role and she's doing an excellent job for our community. So thank you, Abby.
Yay. Deb, just from what Hazel said regarding that, thoughts?
I think we need to move ahead with it. Infrastructure is what's stopping us from developing. That's the only thing. We've got talented people in our community who have been educated. We have nowhere to put them. We have no money to hire them and put them in a facility to work. If we can build it, we can make these programs work.
So the resolution for that?
I'll second it, Chief Audrey.
Okay. What's the resolution state? Oh, Hazel? Can you use your mic?
You have to help me rewrite it.
Yes.
The recommendation that the Six Nations of the Grand River proceed to allow the state-of-the-art well-being building to be built by the funders. I don't know what their names are, but they're willing to put it up right away and allow the growth that's needed in Six Nations to accommodate our well-being in a community.
So Hazel's moving it, Audrey seconding it. I have Melba then Amos.
Yeah, concerning funding, we've been talking about funding that needs to be spent before March 31st. So it's not that we don't have money to put this state-of-the-art building. We know that if you build it, they will come, right? Across the world, people know that, and it is true. It's not only Africa that actually follows through with these kind of things. So I would suggest we certainly discuss the possibility of using those funds. What else would it be but saving lives, making people feel better? It just goes on, diagnosing various things. I just recently went to the diagnostic center in Simcoe, and it's quite a facility that certainly can look at your body in many ways and help you in many ways. So I would suggest that council discuss the possibility of using those funds. Thanks.
Amos?
Yeah, I think, and this, I guess, is for your staff, Chief. We need to find an instrument. The only thing I can name it right now is equity shareholding. There are a lot of investors who would want to invest. We talked about that at well-being. So there, when I read about it, it's called equity shareholding, where they'll invest, but then they'll get a dividend. So it's a business relationship with these equity shareholders who want to invest, and I'm sure we can seek them out. The drug companies in Canada, we can find some of those folks. They might want to invest. They might have an appendage that allows them to invest. So I think we need to get that kind of creativeness and being innovative for our community. If we can't get all the money that we need from the government, we need to find an instrument that can do that. And the thing I've been reading about is equity shareholding. So maybe we can look at that as well. And Linda and Tracy can look at that, and Claire, whoever, to find an instrument like that, equity shareholding.
Okay, so the resolution, it was moved and second. Moved by, no. This isn't, was Audrey the one that seconded it? Okay. Go ahead, Cynthia.
Point of order question. I can't keep our rules straight. I thought we were told before, I know because I tried to do it a couple of times, that you can't put something such as this on the agenda because it's not on, you can't put a motion like this because it's not on the agenda. At least that's what I've been told a couple of times.
As only as if you added an agenda,
Well, that's not what I understood.
like new business,
Yeah, well, this is new business.
the same
Yeah,
topic.
well, whatever, I don't agree, but
Okay.
also, I would like if we could have a presentation so we understand what it is we're getting into, essentially. With what Hazel is proposing, if we could have a presentation. I remember back, maybe in the early spring, there was a presentation, but it was part of an application submission to the Ministry of Health or something. But I would, so it wouldn't take much, I wouldn't think, to put it together to present to council.
So is that okay, Hazel and Amos, if we can get that presentation first and then have that resolution to go with it?
It's Audrey who seconded it.
Oh, sorry, Audrey. Is that okay?
It's okay with me. It's okay with Hazel.
Hazel, it's okay. So we can get that done and brought back to council. Okay, so with the resolution that we do have here, it was moved by Hazel Johnson and seconded by Audrey Paulus Bomberry, that the Wellbeing Committee recommends the Six Nations of the Grand River 59th elected council to accept the following as information. And can we add on there for advocacy purposes and council to action? Like, is that okay to add that, Audrey?
Yes, that's good with me.
All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried. Waive second reading. Moved by Amos, second by Hazel. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Abigail.
Abigail. Great job. Okay, let's go to number 7. So this is my updates, but also the CEO update. Do I have your paper? There, sorry. Okay, let's get started. The Ontario Minister of Transportation, Pragmeet Sakari, thanked the Six Nations of the Grand River delegation, which included myself and Councillor Jameson and Councillor Fraser, for taking time to meet with him regarding our community transportation plan and the need for increasing funding. They look forward to working together to strengthen and expand safe and reliable transportation infrastructure across Ontario. The 4th annual progress report on the implementation of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples was released on August 20th, 2025. A downloads file is not yet available, but it can be accessed on the Government of Canada's Department of Justice website. The Jay Treaty Border Alliance, JTBA, was formed in 2017 by tribal governments and First Nations communities to collaborate on our efforts to protect our rights preserved in the Jay Treaty. This alliance is supporting a new U.S. bill that seeks to remove the 50% blood quantum requirement in Section 289 of the United States Immigration and Nationality Act. The new legislation seeks to restore the original intent of the Jay Treaty, which affirmed our inherent rights to freely cross the U.S.-Canada border. More updates will be shared as they are available. The August edition of the Indigenous Service Canada newsletter includes a public health notice on blastomycosis, a fungal infection you get from breathing in mold and moist soil or rotting wood. As it gets colder, keep an eye out for symptoms, which can include the mild cough that does not go away to serious breathing problems. And for the CEO updates, go ahead, Tracy. Good. I have one more. I have education. Sorry. It's back to school time. Six Nations members who choose to send their children to a school that is not located on Six Nations of the Grand River First Nation, or is not part of the local or Catholic school boards may be eligible for elementary or secondary school tuition assistance. If your child resides on the Six Nations Reserve, is 4 years of age or older, and is attending an elementary or secondary school that is not part of our local schools or school boards, you may be eligible for tuition assistance that is paid directly to the school. To determine if your child is eligible for tuition assistance, parents or guardians are encouraged to complete the nominal roll recommendation form, section 1-3 for each child. Please contact our administration office. The deadline to submit completed forms is September 30th, 2025. Now go ahead, Tracy.
Thanks, Chief. My updates are short. I wanted to highlight the immunization program. So the chief has sent a letter out endorsing the immunization plan for school-age children. So that means that they authorize the immunization for all students within the school system and to comply with the Ontario Public Health. So while suspensions may be required, we do hope that parents and families will work with our system and ensure that they get those immunizations in quickly and safely. I would like to send congratulations out to the Fall Fair, to the Agricultural Society, appreciation for all their hard work, all the people who have participated, volunteers, participants. Fall Fair was a huge success. Thank you so much. The last thing I have is just a reminder about wandering animals. We've had so many complaints. Just want to let you know that if you have wandering animals, if you have dogs that are not tied up, they're wandering in places they shouldn't be, animal control will be called. We won't necessarily contact you because we have limited resources to do that. So please be reminded if you have animals that they need to be tended to. Thanks so much.
Okay, can I have a mover to, oh, go ahead, Audrey.
I have a question. Yeah. Just to add a bit more clarity, Chief, to your comments on the education. They're called a Regional Education Agreement, or REA, and they're for students who live on the reserve or off the reserve. If a parent caregiver wants their child to go to a different school, not on the reserve, then they have to fill out that form, and vice versa. But the understanding is that they transport the child to that school. So read over carefully what it is you're getting into, and also the school that you're going to be sending your child to in Brantford or surrounding areas. They have to have room for that student. So if there is no room in that classroom you want your child to go to, then you might have to have a plan B in your back pocket ready to go for. So I hope it just adds a little bit more clarification for the parents. Yeah,
Thank you for that, Audrey. Thanks.
you're welcome.
Go ahead, Tracy, just to add something else.
Sorry, and further to that, for those people who are choosing to send their children to private schools, I think that you need to be reminded that the full tuition may not be available for reimbursement or for payment. So it will be based on the local, I guess, the local tuitions that are paid. So there will be a certain amount of money that's set aside, and it may not be the full amount that your school of choice is charging. You will be responsible for that money that's not covered.
Good. Melba?
Yes, I think the community needs to understand why buses will not be transporting certain children. And are we talking children that are on the reserve? I think community needs to know that so they can be prepared.
I think just along what Audrey was saying, that's the responsibility of the parent. Correct, Audrey? If they want to take their child to another school.
Correct. Another school off the reserve, Melba. So if they want to have their child go to Brantford, for example, they will have to drive their child to Brantford every day and back home. We don't have buses at this point that will do that. They bring them to schools on the reserve, who are on the reserve.
Just to follow up, Audrey, we have had buses um, for years dropping off people like at PJ and other schools. So I'm not understanding. Maybe you need to say a few more words for me and others to understand. Thanks.
Well, we're looking at elementary school children right now, Melba, who are up to grade 8. So those students, the two students you're talking about, are students who go to Brantford, and sometimes they have a terminal where the high school students go, get picked up by another bus, and go to a different school. That has happened in the past. It's also happened on Six Nations as well. So we're talking about basically here. It is for both, but elementary schools is one that would be most affected. So if they're going to an elementary school off the reserve, the guidelines are they would be asked to drive their child to that school and pick them up, because they're not attending schools on the reserve where there is already busing provided for them to the schools on the reserve. So I just want them to keep that in their mind when they make a decision, so they're not disappointed, or they know that they're going in with a bit more of a big picture, and to read all the documents. Ask for all the papers, the application forms, and read. And if you have any question, you have the Director of Education for federal schools, and you have the principals for the 2 traditional schools. So now, and good luck.
Melba?
Just a further follow up. Speaking of a big picture, has there been any plans with the Go Bus? Is there meetings happening that we have to consider that parents, not all parents have cars. Their relatives may have cars, but they're going in different directions to go to work or whatever they do. So, is there any plans further in a big picture to accommodate these children and parents? Thanks.
Melba, not right now. There's just a bus schedule to get on the buses at the 4 different stops. So, for what you're asking, not directly with the school, but there are the 4 different stops. Mm-hmm. Okay, so can I have a mover to accept his information? Moved by Hazel, second by Audrey. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried. Let's go to number 8, well-being. We have 8.1. Says it was moved by Hazel Johnson, second by Audrey Paulus, that the Well-Being Committee recommends that Six Nations of the Grand River 59th Elected Council, whereas the Health Services Integrated Fund has been provided by Indigenous Service Canada since 2016 to explore the future of the Wellbeing Department and whether a health transfer of service from ISK is wanted. Whereas the health planning team was formally established in 2020 to begin the work of engaging the community to receive their feedback on what the community wants to see as the future of the Wellbeing Department to help guide a decision on health transformation. Whereas the health planning team submitted a funding proposal for fiscal year 2025 to 2026 to cover salaries that cannot proceed without a band council resolution supporting the work of the team. Whereas the health planning team is seeking support from the Wellbeing Committee for the ongoing work of engaging with the community to assess the willingness to participate in health transformation for the future. Therefore, be it resolved that the Six Nations of the Grand River Wellbeing Committee agree to support the ongoing work of the health planning team through a band council resolution that will result in Indigenous Service Canada releasing the Health Services Integrated Funds for the 2025-2026 funding proposal. Do you want to talk to this, Hazel or Audrey? Oh, yep. Okay, just before you talk, sorry,
Yep.
Audrey, go ahead. Cynthia?
Yeah, thank you. Just from reading the briefing note, I have a couple questions. Again, just because I'm not in this area. It, it talks about the application for the 25-26 fiscal year and it has a proposed work plan. I won't go through the whole thing, just when I had questions on number 3 and 4. It said to explore the concept of a community health authority, and 4 is delve into the exploration of transfer of Ashwegan Public Health from ISK to Six Nations. And then under the recommended action, under the whereas, it speaks of a health transfer of services from ISK is wanted, like to explore that. But my questions around that, I'm not exactly sure, like a community health authority, is that different, or would this health transfer of what the feds are currently responsible for, would that be included if we went forward with this health authority? And this health authority, would it be, I'm trying to envision what that might be. You know, you heard of education authorities, but they're separate from a council. Like they have their own boards and that sort of thing, which I understood from Audrey. It seems that's the way the community want to go with the education here. Is that similar? Where are you? Deb, you're the health person. Is that similar then? If and I realize it's just to explore all this, it's money to do it, but is that what that is, a community health authority?
So that topic was on the agenda to explore. Really, we're looking to the community to guide us. What do you want to see? Do you want to see a health authority? Do you want to see just the transfer of the ISK mandated programs under SNGR? So we're not committing to anything. It's just to get their feedback on what do they want to see? How do they want health services to be delivered within our community?
Can you use your mic?
A transfer also to look into, I understand. The transfer of Ashwegan Public Health, because it's just different wording was used under the the wording for the BCR. It says a health transfer. Those are one and the same things, correct? Now, what's involved in a health transfer? That's the services currently provided by ISK. Used to be Health Canada, now it's all under ISK. And that would that be like the nurses, the dentists, the medical drivers, and would it also include? And this was a controversy some years ago. I don't know if it's got any better, but would that include the transfer of the NHIB services? You know, like the insurance coverages for orthotics, the glasses, the hearing aids, all of that. Does that include that or no?
No, it's the services that are currently operating in the community. So the dentists are independent contracts, so they have nothing to do with this. Medical transportation drivers, they're also independent contracts, and that medical transportation program is managed by health services. So the services currently under ISK in our community are public health nurses as well as the environmental public health officer. So those are the positions that would be involved.
Can you use your mic?
Different First Nations that I've taken transfer of health, and with many, they include like the medical transportation. There were some, and this is where it got rather controversial, was the whole NHIB, like the non-insured health benefits. And I don't know the state of that affair now. Or we could look at all of it, including those, or we could just look at some of it, excluding those.
It depends on what the community wants. That's our goal, is to what do they feel they want our health service department to look like. And just speaking to NIHB, so we did receive funding for an NIHB navigator who's now in place, and her role is to help people navigate that system. So
Just off that, Deb, just before Cynthia, can you let them know where and just that service?
Yep, so she's currently operating out of the White Pines Wellness Center. Actually, she moved. She's down where the senior support hub is because, again, of space. I don't have her number off the top of my head, but I can find that.
Good to hear, because for years there was such a lady over at, she worked out of Ganiolis, I remember that. But when you said it's up to the people, what do they want? I think part of that, it's important, of course, to ask the people what do they want, but they need to be informed of what's the whole range of what might be available, including the NHIB. I have my own reservations about that, but I think it's only fair to have here's the whole range, here's what there tends to be, here's what we have right now. Again, just so they're informed.
Go ahead, Helen.
Yeah, it's just to respond to Cynthia, it's all part of ISK's transfer of everything to us. Transfer of health is all part of that. At this point, I don't think council ever took the decision to transfer health. We've never made that yet, because what we're finding out is people that have taken transfer of health, just like education, it's great the first agreement, but once the agreement is done, they start cutting the money, and it's been proven that they do that. So, and they want us to do 10-year agreements, I believe, but after the 10 years, they start cutting the funding. And that's been proven in different communities. So we have to really be careful with transferred health or anything transfer, because it's going to involve everything.
I have Dale, then Audrey.
I guess my question is just, I guess, more clarification on the therefore. Because you got therefore resolved that the Six Nations of the Grand River Wellbeing Committee agree to support the ongoing work of the Health Planning Committee through a band council resolution that will result in Indigenous Service Canada releasing the Health Services Integration Fund for the 2025-2026 proposal. So, like, what's our actual resolution? Are we just supporting the proposal, or are we, what do we, so it's just.
You're supporting the proposal submission and the work ahead, so that proposed work ahead for this next fiscal year.
Which is the community engagement.
Yes, more
So,
community
so I'm just
engagement.
looking for clarification on the direction that you're actually asking the elected council to support the proposal. But I mean, just because we support it doesn't mean
No.
ISK is gonna release the funds.
No.
It's just so it's more to clarify that we're supporting the proposal to continue
The work.
the work on community engagement in relation to health transformation. Yeah.
Well, the funding does depend on your support
Yeah.
of the proposal, so it will be released with the proposal along with the council letter of support.
Audrey?
Yeah, Deb, do you think it would be a good idea to share the funding proposal with council? And this is not time sensitive. It might be prudent to do a presentation for full council so they have a better understanding of all the things, including myself, of all the things that we're looking into here. It seems like even with education, if I came in and said, give me a proposal for this to do that, I think, well, I know council are very wary, and rightly so. So I think a little bit more work needs to actually go into explaining to council as well as the community more detail of what is being talked about, so everybody has a clear idea of where we're trying to go in the future. Yeah.
Yep, go ahead, Deb.
So I can talk to the data analytics and insights director, and we can come up with a plan to have that to you.
So we can take this off and bring it back? Is it urgent?
It's urgent.
Okay.
Yeah, but we can provide.
Can do that,
yeah.
provide that? Okay. Okay, so it's been moved,
Yeah.
seconded, all in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried. Waive second reading. Moved by Hazel, second by Audrey, all in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried. Let's go to recommendation 8.2, moved by Audrey Paulus Bonbury and seconded by Hazel Johnson, that the Well-Being Committee recommends to the Six Nations of the Grand River 59th Elected Council to discuss the levels of authority in the portfolios. I'm not sure what that all means. Yeah, what does that mean? Go ahead, Amos.
That means that we are wanting to have a conversation about if there's an opportunity, I guess, for our portfolios to dialogue directly with a minister, for instance, or send a letter directly from the director of that portfolio, rather than having it to come through your office, chief. So that's what the conversation was. Like, we, like for instance, Jane Philpott. Once I heard about what she was about to do, it would have been nice if we could have contacted her right away and been able to talk to her, and that we want to be on her list of people that she needs to talk to. But we made our way through all of this, and now we have it for you. But I guess in the future, can we look at the chairs or the directors to being able to have access to write letters, etc., and what that authority at? I know there's authorities for funding, there's authorities for governance, all that kind of stuff. So I think we need to have a future conversation about that, so that we can move faster on some of these initiatives when they're announced.
Helen?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, you're a council, you can do whatever you want. You're a councillor representing your community. If you want to converse with the minister, you can do that. I don't see why we wouldn't be able to. I've done it for 20 years. There's no limit to what we can do. If you want to go to Ottawa, well, you have to get council's approval, but if you want to go talk to ministers at Ottawa, you can do that. Any one of us can. So I don't know why you would think you can't. I don't know.
We were just trying to follow protocol.
I think the other part about it, and thank you for bringing this here, because we're all a team, and making sure that whatever's wanting to be done, in well-being, that for sure the chief's office is, and then let the full council, whatever the decision may be, or however, So I think that's the whole part about it is, have no problem with it. It's just we're on a team here, and making sure that everybody's in the loop that knows what's going on. Go ahead, Dale.
No, I just want to comment on in relation to, every committee or portfolio has a terms of reference and a mandate. That mandate clearly expresses what you can do. So seeing or speaking to anyone, if that's part of your mandate and the goal of your committee, then I don't see an issue with that. The biggest part of that is the communication with council. To let council, we have this mandate, this is what we want to do, this is new, we want to pursue it as part of our committee. Any findings, we'll bring back to council, but, the important part is communicating with council, and if you need to travel, yeah, you need council's approval, so I don't see any problem with that as long as it's fitting in with your mandate of your terms of reference of your committee or portfolio.
Go ahead, Melba. Linda, did you have something?
Yeah, just over the weekend, and I think I mentioned it yesterday, that I had a couple people to say the chairs of the portfolio system, they're taking away the responsibility of the directors, is what they said. Now, if this happens that, say, a chair can, and communication was mentioned, but we know that all of a sudden at times this person in the government is available. You're not going to have time to tell everyone unless you're like a lot of people, you're looking at your email and your messages all the time. You're like full time looking at your messages, or as it used to be, you got your phone up to your ear all the time. So I think it would be chaos, and I think it would be very confusing at times, because it's my understanding, and maybe I don't have a full understanding, that your staff that assist you, like Linda, uh, does some of those things. They keep you in the loop. So and so called, and now you have an appointment with so and so. So is the portfolio chair is going to have more assistance? Let's put it that way, to do these kind of things. So that's just the thoughts on top of my head. So I'd like to hear more discussion on it. Thanks.
Go ahead, Linda.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I guess, share how we have been, the chief's office has been operating. And to your point, Amos, for sure, whenever there is something that comes through the chief's office that, to your point, Dale, is a mandate of one of the committees, we do our very best to get that information out promptly. I guess the other thing we have to be mindful of is the election code, which states that the chief is the main spokesperson. So I don't know how we can make revisions or whether that's an internal process, but that's kind of because, I just started last January and this role as chief of staff, and we've had a couple of missteps along the way where I said, oh no, you have to abide by, and we had to come back, and make proposals for changes, etc. So we do have to be careful that whatever council wishes to delegate some of the responsibility, that, to your point, Dale, that the communication with chief's office is imperative, because if we're trying to do the same thing, and we've seen that recently, where administration is doing something and the chief's office is doing something, and we're not talking because we're too big of an institution to just kind of spread out the load. But if it's going to be shared, and I can tell you, we'd certainly welcome someone else taking the lead on some things. But I just wanted to share that we do have the election code, and there's roles and responsibilities of the elected chief and roles and responsibilities of the councillors, and then again to the mandate. So we just have to figure out a way where we're all on the same page and knowing who's actually going to lead a specific topic if that's where council wishes to go. Thanks.
And I think that's the whole part, Amos, is just communication with myself and even the director, and let's get things moving, for sure. Okay, let's go to recommendation 8.3, moved by Hazel Johnson and seconded by Audrey Paulus Bomberry, that the Wellbeing Committee recommends to the Six Nations of the Grand River 59th Elected Council. Whereas the Six Nations of the Grand River Department of Wellbeing continues to implement and adhere to standards regarding maximum patient to nurse ratio within a community health setting. Whereas Six Nations of the Grand River Department of Wellbeing continues to advocate for equitable salary allocations that advance recruitment and retention goals for First Nations health staff. Therefore, be it resolved that the Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council monitor Bill 19, an act to amend the Health Protection and Promotion Act with respect to maximum patient to nurse ratios, and develop a government submission as required in collaboration with Department of Wellbeing to inform the legislative process. That was a mouthful. Amos, did you want to touch on that? On anything? Tim? That's the next question.
So what it means is there's legislation in the works regarding the patient ratios of nurses to clients or patients. We are abiding in our programs with the legislative requirements around that. However, it's tricky because we get a lower amount of funding, so we're paying our staff lower amounts to keep those staffing ratios at the same level. So the recommendation is basically to monitor Bill 19, and it is an act to amend the Health Promotion and Protection Act in respect to the maximum patient nurse ratios. Um, we want to be part of that. So our argument is that we do require more in our First Nations communities because of the acuity level of our patients. And we see that in a lot of our programs. We deal with a population with more chronic disease who are sicker. And so that needs to be considered. So as this act goes through, we want to be part of the consultations with that to provide our input into that process. Hi, Damus.
Yeah, I now remember. So then if, if, because it's an act that's being evolving, right, it's developing, we would need you as chief to go into the standing committee to give our point of view on this. So every time there's a new act, we need to be prepared as a council to go to the standing committee and give our points of view on it. That's what, guess what we're discussing now.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Any other questions? Go ahead, Dale.
Oh, Deb, I was just wondering if it should be reworded in that sense. You're there for, because you want council to advocate in relation to having input into that new bill, correct?
So right now the ask is that we're monitoring it.
Mm-hmm.
So as that process goes through, we will let you know when that advocacy is needed. So right now we're just keeping an eye on what it says.
So that's why I'm just wondering why you even need a resolution to do that when you're going to do that anyways, and when it comes time that you need the political input, you'll come to us.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm just kind of
Okay.
curious, because I thought you were at that stage where you wanted council to do something and act to be a part of that. So that's why I was thinking it should have been reworded in that
Okay.
sense.
Okay. So
But
you're
if
just
you're
at
just
this stage.
monitoring, you don't need us to direct you to do that. You're doing it anyways.
Okay.
Okay, so that's good. All right, let's go to number 9, data governance. Moved by Amos Key and seconded by Dean Hill that the Data Governance Committee recommends to the Six Nations of the Grand River 59th Elected Council. Whereas the Six Nations of the Grand River Data Analytics Insights Department has created data linkage with Indigenous Service Canada for current population and demographic data. Regarding this one? Okay. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, just to back up, since it is an item on the agenda, I was wondering if we could accept it as information and that Deb or Tracy will keep us updated into what is required. So we can do that as a resolution.
Agree?
Yes.
Okay, so moved by, it's already moved by Hazel and seconded by Audrey. That will move it as just information, Hazel and Audrey. All in favor?
Yes.
Anybody opposed? See none, carried. Thanks, Dale.
Yeah, and just that Deb and Tracy will keep us
Keep us
informed.
yep. So let's go to again 9.1. Whereas Six Nations of the Grand River Data Analytics and Insights Department has created a Power BI dashboard that allows for a centralized system to track historical and current population data as well as future projection trends that will serve as an explanatory reference tool for sourcing population related data as well as current and future needs. Therefore, it be resolved that the Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council's Data Governance Committee accepts the Data Analytics and Insights Population Power BI dashboard as information and a potential resource for future political advocacy. Go ahead, Dean.
Thank you, Chief. So this is coming from the committee of the data governance, but also the data analytics department. And it's just a quick presentation on just about the population of Six Nations right now and what we're capable of doing now regarding our population. So I'll go through the quick presentation I have here regarding the membership. This is all interactive through our Power BI presentation, where we can look at the present day members of the Six Nations, but also at the same time we can filter because it is interactive. Where if we want to go off reserve, we can see the age demographics of our population, male, female, and then also specifically just on reserve as well. But I know a lot of talk was done today regarding how important and how powerful this tool is for us in our advocacy. Because it's one thing to say what our needs are, but at the same time, when we can prove the numbers, because the numbers aren't going to lie. So therefore, a lot of this stuff here is really, really important for us, whether we want to filter it through male, female, ages, various ways like this. So we can also have a population pyramid here as well. Now we can filter through the year. We have from 1974 to 2024. So we have 50 years of data regarding our population. You know, when we first started collecting this type of data, this is what the graph looked like. At the bottom there, we had a very young population, biggest demographic on both males and females. It appears to be from 10 to 19 years of age. And I want to point this one out too. So we can go ahead and pick around in the 80s, let's say, where a lot of our infrastructure and our buildings were currently built on Six Nations. So this is kind of the population we were dealing with and what the capacity of each of our buildings were built to withstand. And then we can go ahead and pop it to present day on where it is now. And we can see that in 2024, we have more of a bigger demographic in the mid-age area from, 65 to 30. And all this shows really is that our population isn't growing as fast. A lot of our community members are not having as many kids because the demographic is from 0 to 14 is very low. So, but also at the same time, we can see that where our new infrastructure and our new capital projects need to be and what they need to hold today. But at the same time, we can look at here the forecast of what we're expected to grow. So now we have here projections that we can also say, like for example, when we look at 2040, we're almost projected to have about 49,000 community members and a low of 26,000 community members, but an average within in 15 years, an average of 37,000 community members. So we're going to continue to grow, and this is the trend that we're looking at here. And let's look at age and location. So this is age and location trend based off of on-reserve population and off-reserve population. And we can see here on the graphs that our off-reserve population is going to continue to trend up, and not a lot of our community members are staying here on the reserve. So we can go through various ages. I just picked here from age 30, I'll do this one here, 30 to 34, because that was kind of the biggest demographic we have, a population that's on our community list. So we can just take a look at this here. And we'll go to this one as well, comparison of our population versus our surrounding communities at the moment. And you can see here that it's not even close. Six Nations is the biggest First Nation, not even just in our surrounding area in Ontario, but in Canada. So this here is the statistics and data we need on why our needs are so great. And a lot of the things we have that affect First Nations communities across Canada are just magnified tenfold in our population compared to other First Nations. So this here is very much important data for our counselors, for our advocacy purposes, because it's one thing to say we need something, but here's the numbers to back it up, right? And the numbers don't lie. This is all we have collected, and we'll continue to collect and add on to it as well, especially when we're talking about a population on the reserve, and with various other bills like, Bill S2 coming down, that's going to add even more members to our population list. So this is a tool that's available. This is just one topic, but it can be various amount of topics. I know we've seen here tonight through health or social or whatever we want to collect for our purposes. One more thing I want to point out here is that we do have a QR code on your table. I'm sure a lot of us have seen. Okay, this here is an easy access. And this here is an easy access for all of us to just quickly scan a data request form, fill out any type of data that we need, and it gets sent directly to our data analytics department, and then they'll email you back on whatever information that you need. And I made sure that there was QR codes all around so everyone has access to it around the table here. So I think that's about everything regarding this. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Dale. I have Cynthia.
Thanks for that presentation, Dean. Very informative. You showed something on here, and all I did is like on the slide that we were given here, that deck, same thing in the link. I pressed it and I'm able to go into what you were doing. But where was the one where it's all the population data for First Nations across Canada? I didn't know where to find it on here.
Yeah, so at the bottom, Cynthia, there's a tab, as you can see right here. And the last one, it says comparison to nearby First Nations, and you go on the bottom there,
Oh, I can't see that tab.
and it'll filter out what we need to have here. Yeah. Yeah. Big difference.
Go ahead, Helen. Oh, go ahead. Hang on. Go ahead, Helen. Then aim.
So the only, the only thing I noticed with all your data, you don't have the number of people that are dying. Our population is increasing, but at the same time, we're losing a lot of people from death. Because you go to Stars thing on the Google Stars up, and if you went through that for 3 years, you'd see we're getting like over 100 people a year dying. So that's cutting down, and we're not having no babies born, obviously. So that's going to be a major thing come some years down the road. Our population is decreasing because number one, we're dying and we're not having babies. I mean, look at, yourself, you see 3 or 4 people dying in a week. But you go on to Stars Funeral Home and they have all that on there. You can tell how many people have died, and it's a lot. So that has to get factored in here somehow. Because we're not having new ones. We're losing the ones we have, and we're not making new ones.
So I'm going to go back to Cynthia in a second, then to Amos. So from year 2024 to year 2023, we would be able probably to see the difference. But it's not strictly saying how many have, just percentages.
I'm sure we can add that into this as well.
Like 2.8.
Yeah. Yes, it definitely is, and that's something that can be integrated. Maybe not necessarily in this information we have presented here. Maybe we can do one based on death and cause of death and everything along those lines as well, and break that down.
Yeah, and it's because of all the deaths, because I've been kind of keeping track. It's because of all the deaths that I keep trying to tell council we need to start our own funeral home. Richard Anderson is making a bundle of money from us, but he's not contributing nothing to our community. He gives nothing to us. And he's making a fortune. So we need to do our own funeral home. And we keep the money here that people are paying for their funeral.
Cynthia, did you want to just let them know that you couldn't find it? Yeah.
Yeah, Natasha was trying to help me, but it's not, I don't have it. So because I'm very interested in that. And it would be nice if we have that link and we could all, just whenever we are curious, look up these things.
Go ahead, Amos.
I was going to just talk with Dean about that's what we had hope would be able to do, that you'd be able to access it right on your laptop or your phone, for us anyway. So that's what we're hoping.
At the bottom of this,
Yeah.
press on your presentation.
Yep.
I pressed on it.
Can you use your mic?
I thought, oh, good, I can get right in there, but it won't go past those 4 slides. That's all mine will do.
Okay, so is there a mover for the therefore? I've resolved that yep, go ahead, Cynthia. Moved by Cynthia, seconder. Second by Dale. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried. Waive second reading. Moved by Dale, second by Cynthia. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried. Let's go to number 10, update from committee meetings, data governance. Meeting date was Thursday, August 15th, 2025.
Most of it was during the presentation we just had there, but that was just to explain that it wasn't just necessarily about population. It can be any topic that we feel is necessary that we need to advocate, because having the raw and hard data with us is really important to justify everything that we're asking, because now there's no excuse. So, and the other thing is just, once again, your QR code data request anytime you want to, whether you're in meetings or committee meetings, whatever it may be, is right there on right beside you. So that's about everything.
Go ahead, Dale.
Just a question, Dean, does that data pick up like what people's education is going and what their field or their work field, like social work, different things, different trades or whatever? Does that pick up that too, or is that more, I guess, people's willingness to share that information?
So the data analytics department has a lot of that information, because all that stuff is collected somewhere. It's just about finally having an area to filter it all and present it nicely, so it's not just a bunch of numbers on a Word document, right? But I'm sure we can ask Zach and his team and Thomas as well just to do that, because they did amazing work, everyone over there, truly.
So is there a mover to accept Dean's update? Moved by moved by Amos. Second by Greg. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none. Carried. Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Dale, second by Cynthia. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none. Carried. Thank you for joining us tonight, and have a great night, everyone.